This is Rafi Kenny with CBC. Go ahead, Rafi.
Hi, thank you for taking my question. It's for the Premier, and it's not related to today's subject.
Good afternoon, and this is also not related to the announcement today. Apologies.
Unrelated to today's press conference, but...
Hi, it's Keean Bexte with Rebel News here. I'll try and put the busting up of the Alberta Press Gallery's monopoly on journalistic access to good use and actually ask an on-topic question.
Jason Kenney just came out with a huge announcement this week. The government of Alberta and First Nations groups across the province are partnering to build the Cascade power project. It's a natural gas combined cycle plant. It's going to be 900 megawatts, $1.5 billion, and it's going to supply homes with good, clean energy. 900,000 homes with good, clean energy. And the story here is that First Nations groups are buying into this project. The First Nations themselves actually are buying into this project. They're supporting it in the best way that they can, with actual money. See, the mainstream media doesn't want you to know that. They want you to buy into the Tides Foundation narrative. Now they're called Make Way because Albertans and Canadians started waking up to how insidious that organization is. They want you to believe that every single Indigenous person in Alberta and Canada is opposed to pipelines, to natural gas development, and to oil sands development. That's obviously not the case, with band councils and their chiefs lining up behind Jason Kenney today to support this project with not just their political support, but also their financial support. Now, I wanted to ask a question, and it was funny because, we just got legislative access at the Alberta Legislature. Rebel News is now accredited, and with that comes the opportunity to ask Jason Kenney and other people who are holding these press conferences really important questions. And I was waiting my turn to ask a question. I was in line on the phone, and all of the mainstream media journalists before me prefaced their question with this.
This is Rafi Kenny with CBC. Go ahead, Rafi.
Hi, thank you for taking my question. It's for the Premier, and it's not related to today's subject.
Good afternoon, and this is also not related to the announcement today. Apologies.
Will you be looking at any moves to prioritize keeping school children in school in terms of keeping things going as Ontario and BC have done?
Unrelated to today's press conference, but...
Well, I thought that we should at least ask one on-topic question about this historic project, and I did. So here's my question.
Hi, it's Keean Bexte with Rebel News here. I'll try and put the busting up of the Alberta Press Gallery's monopoly on journalistic access to good use and actually ask an on-topic question. There's millions of dollars being spent every year by out-of-province and especially out-of-country activists to brand Indigenous people like they're opposed to natural gas, oil sands development, pipelines, etc. Premier, in your experience negotiating this deal, is that the experience that you had with Indigenous populations?
No, in fact, in June of last year, our government convened a Crown First Nations Leadership Summit where we invited, I think, 46 of Alberta's Indigenous chiefs to meet with our cabinet for the better part of a day. And the central agenda item was partnerships in responsible resource development. And I was very happy to see basically unanimity around the table. Obviously, First Nations have a special connection to the land of their ancestors, and are more sensitive than most people about environmental conservation and preservation. At the same time, they understand the First Nations with whom we have engaged through this agreement and in all of our consultations over the past 16 months, I've heard a deep understanding about the need to help move people from poverty to opportunity through responsible resource development partnerships.
Now you can see that Jason Kenney smirked a little bit at my question, and if you listen closely, we'll play the audio again.
I'll try and put the busting up of the Alberta Press Gallery's monopoly on journalistic access to good use and actually ask an on-topic question.
It's hard to pick it up, but I have it on good authority that the room laughed and applauded when I asked that question. The mic didn't pick it up great, but you could hear a few giggles in the crowd. See, those First Nations in the crowd, those Indigenous people, they were happy to hear my question because, well, you know as well as I do, the mainstream media is absolutely opposed to giving them any publicity when it's off message. To the racists in the mainstream media, well, the only use that they have for Indigenous people is when they're pushing their white liberal narrative that all Indigenous people are a monolith against oil and gas development, natural resource development, natural gas pipelines, the whole works. That's simply not the case. By and large, Indigenous groups support developing natural resources. It's just a fact, and you can see it here by all of these chiefs lining up behind Jason Kenney to support this project with their political support and also their financial support. I'm glad that Rebel News is finally accredited and able to ask the questions that the mainstream media refuses to ask. Now, it was a long road to get here to the point where Jason Kenney would take our questions and we would be able to walk into the legislature and ask questions of ministers and the premier and opposition members. We couldn't have done it without our lawyers fighting tooth and nail to get us into that building and into these press conferences, and we couldn't have those lawyers without your support. If you go to letusreport.com, we still need to pay back all of those lawyers and all of their time that it took to get us in the legislature and in those press conferences. If you can help us out at letusreport.com, it would go a long ways, and we will continue to bring you the other side of the story, the side of the story that the mainstream media doesn't want you to hear. Thanks for tuning into our coverage here at Rebel News. Like I said, please go to letusreport.com. If you've already done that, be sure to like and subscribe to this video. If you've already done that, ring the notification bell. If you do that, YouTube can't redirect your traffic to CTV, CBC, Global News, and the Canadian Press, and all those people in that press conference that refuse to ask any question about that press conference